I walked in the woods and stepped over a tree branch, a knot. I picked it up and looked at it. What a curious thing! And suddenly a bass voice from the heaven said loudly, "You will practice this." And I quickly started practicing. I found craftsmen, and I have been practicing this for 32 years by now, for God's sake. Why do you cut? I thought it over. Why does a man cut at all? At first this was for the family. I was married and needed to earn money, to feed my family. It was clear. At first this was an aspiration. I neglected time and cuts and my broken hands. No matter. I just worked and worked and worked. And when this was no longer a must of earning money for kindergarten, for sleepers, for schoolbooks, I was just willing to do this. And I went to work as if I went to a date with my beloved one. I definitely feel pity for those who go to work as blown horses, heads and tails down. They go only thinking about finishing the work they hate as quickly as possible, and then go for a drink. While you go to work with pleasure, sometimes you have to know when to draw the line for a work, to keep the interest and to have the resources for it. You should not overwork. For instance, 6 hours is the line for your work, and you are such an enthusiast. You worked for 8 hours, and you leave work, and you don't want back. You don't think about your work. You're tired. And I have now such a rhythm that having worked for a certain time, I leave my work, walk 100 meters from the studio, and I feel like running back to sit again and work. You should always keep your interest. And why? What's the purpose for it? It is stronger than any addiction, stronger than drugs or alcohol and smoking. You know, eating and sleeping again, well, I feel sorry for you, poor little thing. How can you differ those who can create? Do you know the purpose of a man's existence? I think it is not about love, or children, or family. It is about opportunity in general. And I think God grows helpers for his work. And this is everyone. So many. Enough for all. It is not by chance that a gene was created. It has information recorded in it, which nose you have, which bone you have. That's a miracle, isn't it? And someone says this is simply an evolution. It is not. It was all created. What do you feel when you create? For instance, when you created this bowl or this jar with a little man on it. The moment I enjoy most of all is the moment I see what I'm going to do, and intuitively understanding the end of work. I didn't yet start the work, but I already know the final result, through operations, through work. And often I'm amazed. When I show the work to a dilettante, oh well, there is a saying, do not show half of your work to a fool. He doesn't see, while I see. And I stopped showing recently. And what a moment, when I see the future result already, when I understand what to do, and then doing is simple, just a technique. As soon as I felt this ball, a tail will be there, this, there. It was so pleasant, a feeling of some mystery, and you touch the mystery. You do not know it, but you can touch. Some have this feeling for an hour, some for all time, like Mozart, a composer. I see the result. Do you hear music while you cut? Unfortunately, no longer, no. When I was a little boy, yes. When a man grows, he suppresses many good inclinations. In my childhood, when I was 7, 9, 10 years old, when I started in a music school, I simply imagined a melody and it started playing inside me, sounding in symphonic format. It was not a plain harmonica melody, but a whole symphonic one, with texture, with harmony, with violence, you know. It sounded, and I could stop it by my will, or resume it by my will. And I didn't use this gift. Can you recall it now? I try to, but I cannot. Now I have a synthesis so that it sounds as needed. If 2 hours are needed, it will sound for 2 hours. I even didn't know it was recorded as a score. Well, all those little things, hobo, fagotto, all sounds, just like it was created with violence. But I'm a human. I didn't use this gift, and it died gradually. In what age did it die? Now, can you recall it artificially? I try. And which melodies come now? Right now, I have a melody sounding in my mind, but I synthesize it. It is the same rhythm. I use fagotto. It used to sound as needed. Now I provoke it in my mind, but it doesn't sound as before. How could I remember it? It used to sound for 2 hours. And now, can you recall those melodies? Those were different melodies. I could recall a song and it sounded in me, usually simple songs, and they were haunting. I got tired of them. A song completed its function, and I walked somewhere and it went on playing for an hour or two. I used to turn it off by will. And now it doesn't play. It doesn't. I want to call it to play, but it doesn't. Sometimes you can call it. Frankly speaking, I didn't have it as a purpose, I just stated it. I will try to restore this gift. Maybe I didn't ask someone for it, or I didn't try enough. I had a friend who complained at a melody playing for 2 hours while he could not fall asleep. It turns out I'm not unique. A man has different talents and images and simply cannot use it. Who knew I would not become an engineer? I was a musician, a good one. Who knew I would not be a pianist if I was a heavy drinker last Friday? No, I don't want to drink or smoke. Who knew I would not deceive anyone? I don't want to deceive, but I did when I'm drinking. I often ask myself, why? Why? It was convenient. If I were a musician, I would create music and it would play. But I do not need it, in fact. I have a well-developed imagination. For instance, I need something in the studio, I think about creating a new thing, and I go to bed and say, let's dream, Sergey. And dreaming means making a composition. Can I solve this? No. But the subconsciousness always works. It is huge, and I give it a task. Help me, my friend. And it works. Let us imagine, let us dream. And it gives me a solution in a day. I will come tomorrow and I will do my work. There is no need to seek something, look for interesting ways. It did everything already, and I agreed with it. It offered me an option, and I could not think of anyone else. And I said, yes, I see these results. It is difficult, but I already see. And that is why it is not hard. I don't have to try in many ways, or to cut huge layers and make mistakes. I do what is needed at first try. Not a millimeter there, not here. Of course I make a notice. I see where the wood would lean from the core. That's amazing. When I was a musician, and I worked for 17 years, I took notes and I remembered them from the first run. I used to order words for songs, and for many years I took notes and the words and noticed. I remember everything after playing just once. And that is a gift I didn't develop further. I used to have it. And now you simply create this harmony, the harmony of music. Do you feel it? Yes, maybe it is so. I now play. For God's sake, I understand music clearly, and I build as if by bones. I even do not have to study on purpose. The culture has come into me harmonically through music, and I go to exhibitions and I look and pick up what I like.